Hello, and welcome to Coach's Conversation Café. I am Keith Rodriguez, your host. I have my panel with me, as usual, trusted confidant, Adam Valencia, owner and CEO of Reconnecting Youth, Inc. And we have a great guest on today for our show. And we're excited to have him. He is the superintendent of Central Unified School District, one of the largest school districts in Central California, Andy Alvarado. Welcome, Andy.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. Adam, good to see you, bud.
Likewise.
Yeah, great seeing you. Hey, Andy, so why don't we start with you giving us a little bit of your academic and athletic background?
Sure. Hey, and I looked down at your name and it says Robert.
Yeah, official name.
Official name.
Yeah.
So Keith and I go way back. We go back to our Fresno State days, but before that, I was, I'm a Valley product. I grew up in Sanger, born and raised in Sanger, California, home of the Apaches. Home of this recently inducted Tom Flores, which is has the town a buzz right now. But
right on.
So that's pretty exciting. He waited a long time to get in there, but I think it's important to note that I did play sports in high school as a 3-sport athlete, and it's been a huge part of my career, not only as a student going through high school and into college, but also in my adult life as a teacher and educator here in the Central Valley. But after graduating from Sanger, I went into Fresno State and actually graduated from Fresno State with a biology degree. At first I thought I was going to be a doctor. I was pre-med at the very beginning, and it was amazing how I started coaching like at 18 years old in my hometown of Sanger. Right after I graduated, I came back and started coaching girls basketball for my brother Ray. And my brother Ray was the head varsity coach at Sanger High at the time, and then now Ray's over at COS, is the women's coach over at COS, College of Sequoias.
Absolutely.
They just went 8-0, won their conference this year too, just recently. So congratulations to my brother Ray and his team. They've been doing some amazing things over there. But I started coaching as an 18-year-old, and 2 years into coaching, I said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a biology degree. I said, forget the pre-med stuff. Get a biology degree, become a high school teacher, and coach high school sports. And I made that decision at about 20 years old. Mom and Dad weren't too happy about it, but going from some doctor aspirations to becoming a teacher, but it wasn't really about the money for me. It was about working with kids and youth, and so I ended up graduating from Fresno State, and I did exactly that. I went into teaching. I started as a middle school teacher for 1 year while I was coaching in Sanger, still at the same time. And then Reedley High School found out that I was teaching in Reedley and coaching in Sanger, and pulled me in the office and said, hey, we're paying you the paycheck. If you're going to coach, it's going to be here in Reedley, not in Sanger. So, and the rivalry that exists between Sanger and Reedley, right? So
a lot of people don't. Go tell us a little bit about it, Andy.
That's a huge rivalry. Okay. And you wouldn't be caught wearing green and black and being from Sanger, and vice versa in Reedley. You're not going to wear Apache red and live in Reedley, right? Well, so they find out I'm coaching in Sanger, and they basically said, hey, we want you to coach here. We have an opening, girls varsity opening, basketball opening. And so, I took it, became the girls basketball coach there in Reedley. And then I get tapped on the shoulder by Coach Arax, who's coaching. Donnie Arax is coaching at Bullard now. Donnie's a legendary coach here in the Central Valley, but Donnie was the head football coach over there. And he asked me if I would coach the quarterbacks, that year. And I was like, heck yeah, let's do it. So I actually started coaching football for Reedley, and then basketball butts up to that. They cross over those 2 seasons, right? So I was pretty much gone for about 6 months, and after coaching those 2 sports back to back. But so I'm coaching football. I get my Reedley gear, And the first game we have is Reedley versus Sanger at Tom Flores Stadium, right? And oh man, I still remember that night because all my buddies are in the stands. I mean, you know, Sanger's a one town, one football team, right? I mean, if you know, and on Friday nights the whole town shuts down and everybody's at the game, and you know that's still very much so today in Sanger. I mean, the town really does support and is all about Apache football. And so all my buddies that were left in Sanger, you know, were heckling me from the stands, calling me a traitor, and you know, yeah, that was the longest 4 quarters of football, standing on that sideline in black and black and green, and especially as much of an Apache fan that I am, because I was, like I said, born and raised, and as a little kid, I look forward to becoming an Apache and playing on Tom Flores Stadium someday, and that did happen for me, and I had a great experience. But going back in there and coaching for Reedley was. I still haven't lived that down. I mean, I go into Sanger and people still bring it up, you know, and you know, they say, I still can't get that look out of my head of you wearing the black and green on our turf, you know. But you know, that's kind of where that all started with my my athletic career and also my academic career. You know, the one thing that I still regret to this day was not walking on for Fresno State. You know, I still remember, I mean, I still crosses my mind, you know, I should have at least just gave it a shot. But, you know, when I was a freshman there, Trent Dilfer was the quarterback, and they had a pretty deep staff, but, you know, that's probably one of my biggest regrets is just not giving it a shot, you know, and whether I made it or not, you know, I just wish I would have had an opportunity to kind of relive those years and just walk on and give it a shot. I just watched a movie yesterday called is it The Greeter? Mm-hmm. Have you seen that?
Not that I recall.
I think it's called The Greeter. Give me 1 second. And if you haven't seen it, oh man, what a great movie. It's about a kid who actually, you know, has dreams of playing for Arkansas, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was just about 6'2", 240 pounds and overweight his entire life. And it's a true story, but you have to watch it. He ends up walking on for Arkansas. And, you know, it's a great story. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. But, you know, last night, it reminded me of, you know, just that missed opportunity of just sticking to, you know, your dreams and seeing them through, you know, because if you don't go after your dreams, I mean, those are regrets that stay with you forever, right? And at least we could have just said, hey, we gave it a shot, you know, and there's no doubt in my mind that we would have found a way to make it happen if I would have done that. But anyhow, that's kind of my path and my athletic path and my academic path, and you know, I started teaching in Reedley and then went into administration. After about 6 years of teaching and coaching, I had about 10 years of coaching high school sports. But when as an educator, as a teacher coach, it was about 6 years. Left Reedley and went to Liberty High School as a vice principal, and then became a principal, assistant superintendent, and then superintendent in Golden Valley Unified. So I was there in Golden Valley for about 18 years altogether in those administrative capacities, and then I think I was like 8 years or so as a superintendent in Golden Valley, and I came over here to Central 3 years ago. So and this is where, you know, I've been ever since. So, and still very much a part of the athletic programs. You know, that's, you know, once it becomes part of your life, it never leaves, right? So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great, Andy. Again, we certainly appreciate you being on today, and I know that Keith has some great stories about your guys' Fresno State games, so games and days, and you guys had a lot of fun out there. So it's great to have you. Certainly appreciate again you making time. You know, we have a lot of young coaches out there, Andy, that are always looking for advice and looking for those golden nuggets. And if there was something you could share with some of our younger coaches, what would that be?
Sure. You know, I was kind of reflecting on my coaching days, and I'm going to call them mistakes, the mistakes that I made back then, and what I learned from those mistakes. I used to be a very animated coach at the very beginning. You know, I was 18, 19, 20, 21, and those first 3 to 4 years of coaching, and I had a hard time controlling my intensity, is what I call it, just my intensity and my emotions, because it always came from the right place, and I thought I was actually doing a service to the kids by behaving like a buffoon. I've always surrounded myself with coaches that have been there, and old coaches that were quite older than I was, actually. I had one coach that was probably 20 years older than me, and another one that was 25 or 30 years older than me that had been coaching for long periods of time. And I'll never forget this. I asked Coach Brooks. His dad is Arlie Brooks. He was a legendary coach at Reedley College, basketball coach. I don't know if you remember that name, Arlie. Mm-hmm. Arlie Brooks. Anyway, his son Kelly was one of my assistants, and I'll never forget when we were short. Our camera person didn't show up for our game, so we didn't have a way to film it, right? Film the game. So I asked Coach to go and film our game for us, and game's over, and he hands me the tape, and off I go. It's late at night, about 9 o'clock, and I used to get home about 9:30 or so from Reedley, and the first thing I'd do is take a shower, and then probably get dinner ready and pop that game film in, and I'd analyze the game film after that long day of work, and actually because I couldn't wait to see the film and break it down. He didn't video the game. Okay, he videoed me on the sideline the whole time, so I could take a look at on how I was actually managing the game and managing our team. And all I needed was about a good 2 minutes of watching me on the sideline, and I shut it off. And I from that day on, I tried to work really hard on controlling that passion that I had, and being able to not be so erratic on the sidelines. And believe it or not, the kids fed off of that, right? I mean, they feed off of it, and the more I became more calm on the sideline and not so animated, it's amazing how officials start to treat you. It's amazing how the technical fouls don't come around as often. And you know what? I just found a better way to motivate our kids, and instead of having to get in their face and try to intimidate them or whatever some of our coaches do. I actually saw it in that movie yesterday. There's a segment in the movie where one of the coaches really gets into this kid's grill, and you could tell it just breaks the kid's spirit down. It just reminded me of just some of those mistakes that some of our young coaches make. Trying to get too animated into kids' faces and belittling them and demeaning them as a way to motivate them. And that works for some people, but it doesn't work for the majority of the people the kids that are out there. There's argument that our kids are too soft these days, and they got all these helicopter parents and stuff. But I'm a real firm believer that we do need to make sure that our coaches are treating kids with respect, and kids need to treat our coaches with respect. And it starts from those coaching leaders at the very top. Coaching girls was a whole nother dynamic too, because they don't respond like boys do most of the time. They shut down. And so I had to find a different way to motivate and not be so animated and so loud and boisterous. And I, quite frankly, I ended up, I thought I honed that that skill very well all the way to the very end of my coaching career. And we got some really good results there towards the end. When I inherited the women's basketball coach the program at Reedley, they were like 2-20 something, I think, our first year. The previous year. And I think we only won like 3 or 4 games my first year coaching. And by the time I left there, we were 22-7, and won the various league championships and came short of the Valley Championship by 1 game. We made it to the semifinals, but it was just surrounding myself with coaches that had been there. Had that coach had my coach not videotaped me and gave me, and he didn't even tell me he was doing it. He just gave me the tape, and I went and I would have probably still kept coaching that way for a long time, and unless I saw it for my own eyes. But he obviously saw it, and he knew that was an adjustment that I needed to make, and that was pretty amazing, the impact that had on me and my coaching. But that would be, I guess, my one thing I would share with those coaches out there. The kids listen. They listen to us as coaches, and in a lot of ways. We serve as their mom or their dad. And we're with them longer sometimes than their own families, and just our words matter, and just there's another way to skin that cat. It doesn't always have to be getting in kids' faces and demeaning them and belittling them. There's other creative ways to motivate children.
Right on. We are with Andy Alvarado, superintendent of Central Unified School District up in Fresno, and he's sharing some great coaching information and history. And Andy, you've had some recent success with your football team, I understand, and you're going to have an opportunity to open a new high school as well. How, from an administrator or an AD standpoint, how is it that you're going to go about building those programs and keep like you have it there with Central now with the new school?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm getting some background noise on my end. Okay, there. I think that's good. As you guys know, the Central football program, and even just our volleyball program, our soccer program, I mean, just the athletic program in general here in Central have been just stellar. Our football team won the first state championship, out of the Central Valley area schools, and we went down south and played a private school. What was the name of that? It's Sierra Canyon.
Sierra Canyon.
Sierra Canyon. A private school where whose kids were there? Scottie Pippen's kid, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James.
I think Shaq's son was there.
Yeah. So I think it was like $40,000 a year just tuition to go to that school.
Yeah.
$40,000 a year, right? And so we get to that game on that night, and I remember asking the coach, "Hey, do we have a shot against these guys?" And he's like, "Well, we're going to have to match their speed. I mean, they've got speed to burn, and they're really quick around the outside." First play of the game, first couple of plays, the tailback breaks one off the 8-hole, and he's going down the sideline, and one of our DBs comes from the opposite side of the field and chases them down and tackles them like at the 15-yard line. And I look over at coach, he looked at me, he says, "I think we're going to be all right." So we pretty much dominated that game the whole time. But I'm a firm believer that you don't. There's no such thing as rebuilding anything. When you have a solid program, you have a solid program, and it starts with the program. And you got to really focus on making sure that your program doesn't slip, and you keep pumping your program up and building it, so that you don't have to rebuild anything. You're just reloading from year to year. And I think Tom Izzo had that saying one year on his when they went to the March Final Four, and on their shirts it says, "We don't rebuild, we reload." Right? And I remember seeing that as a coach, and I was like, "Dang, that's it right there." And so the other thing that I'm a firm believer in is, you'll hear a lot of people, especially in education, say, "Hey, you know what? Our number one priority is first and foremost is academics," and then they go and they say, then it's athletics, and then it's whatever. And I hate it when people say that, because once you start putting one program over the other, then you start compromising programs. And it's not about being academic minded first, and then athletic minded, and then student activity minded. You got to do everything 100% across the board, right? And so you're giving 100% effort not only in your athletic programs but also in your academic programs. So you're not compromising one or the other. And so that's always going to be a top priority for us here in Central as long as I'm here. And we're going to pump in the resources that we need in order to maintain that level of competition. Sure, are we going to take a hit? I most likely. I mean, when you take 2 campuses, almost 4,600 kids, at one high school, 4,600 kids at one high school, right? You have to put 11 people on the field. It's a lot easier to pull from 4,600 as it is from 2,200. I can tell you that. But and then when you spread that over 3 campuses, and now you're really talking about maybe a high school of about 1,100 or 1,200, and then 2 at 22 or so 100 kids. You're going to reduce the pool a little bit. But I think the way that we've established the programs here in Central, I mean, there is a level of expectation on what we see on the athletic fields, and I think that'll carry over. And I think administratively, our job is to make sure that they have the resources in order to get that done. And so, we're committed to that. And that's always been kind of my position as a coach, and also as an administrator, is not compromising programs in order to get there.
Well, that's great, Andy. We definitely congratulate you on your new high school. There's been a lot of talk about students transitioning back. Obviously, we're all coming off of COVID-19. Many districts are handling it a certain way. Just kind of curious to know how you're handling it as a district, and what are the next steps for you?
Sure. So it's been a year. I know you guys both know that, and we shut down on March the 13th, that Friday afternoon. Friday the 13th. We made that call like about 2:00 in the afternoon. I remember it like if it was just yesterday. We were here in this office actually, and we haven't been back since. And we've been doing distance learning. We started bringing some cohorts back to school, some of our more needy populations, into in-person learning, but it's been just small number of kids. And so everybody's been pretty much doing it virtually for about a year now, and a year and a couple weeks. And tomorrow, as a matter of fact, we're bringing our elementary kids back for the first time in person. Our grades TK through second grade will be in-person learning 4 days a week. Our grades 3 through 6 will be kind of on a hybrid AB schedule, 2 days on and online, and then 2 days in person. And then our secondary, give me one quick second. Roberto, what's up, brother? Good. All right, sorry about that. I had my door open. So the secondary come back next week, which, hey, that's 7th, 12th grade, all coming back. They'll be in a hybrid, kind of 2 days on and 2 days in person as well. And so that's the model we're following right now. Hopefully the numbers continue to decline, or we keep moving into the orange category, so we can bring kids back 100%. And we have every intention of fall of being back 100% with all of our students and teachers on staff to a regular setting. But nobody ever thought that we would have been in this situation. You just never know. We're just going to take it one day at a time, and then we'll make the right decisions when that time is needed. And I can tell you what, though, we are going to follow the science, and we're going to listen to our science professionals out there as they give us whatever their recommendations are, and we're not going to let anybody influence that decision making, whether that's whomever that may be. Okay, I mean, we're going to follow the science, and we're always going to make sure that our kids and our staff are safe.
That's great, Andy. And is there anything that any workarounds or techniques or strategies that you guys have had to use during COVID-19, Andy, that you found successful, and that when things return to normal, you're like, hey, we're gonna keep this and use something like this even when we return to normal?
Sure. Right when that COVID hit in March, I was really worried that we were going to lose 200, 300 kids, 20% of our population to online school, right? And so we had to make a really quick adjustment in March, and we decided that by August of that year, it drove my ed service folks crazy, because I get these crazy ideas in my head, and it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and I need it done like in 5 months, and so we decided to open up an online school, and so from March we made that decision like in April, and so April we decided, okay, we're going to open up an online school. That means going through application process, getting approved by the state, getting a CDS code assigned, and have its doors ready to go by August. That was just a major accomplishment from my ed service side of the house, the ed service department that actually did all that work. But guess what? I mean, when we opened it up, we had almost 350, 400 kids sign up for it. Okay. And so, and that's when we had made the decision that we were going to come back. And so there was still a lot of fear. But that online school is open today. It'll continue to be open, and I really think, I know that there is a certain population in Central Unified that's going to prefer that methodology. They're going to want to learn virtually. And now we have that option available to them, right, through our own online school. I mean, we were losing kids to Clovis online, K-12 online throughout the state, and now we have an online school where we're starting to attract kids from surrounding districts now. I mean, our ADA, I mean, our attendance, we're funded on ADA, right? And so we're up like almost 250 to 300 high school kids alone. And I think that's a combination of the new high school Garza opening up in the fall. We're offering an early college at West Campus that's new next year, where kids are actually going to get to earn not only their high school diploma, but their AA in 4 years. That's opening up next year. So I think we're getting a lot of people interested in that. But I also attributed it to the online school that we opened up in August. So I think that'll continue. This Zoom meeting, right? Instead of driving all the way to Sacramento and having to attend a meeting over there, or driving downtown in Fresno County, we recommended to the county superintendent, mix it up a little bit. Let's just do this Zoom meeting and we can do it right here. And we're not having to pay mileage for people to go down to Sacramento or down, to the Fresno County or Visalia or wherever it may be. So I think the Zoom will be will continue. It's actually become other than the kink in my neck from looking at this dang computer all day long, it's actually been very convenient to be able to hold meetings like this, and even meetings with parents and that kind of thing. I think that'll stick. I think our teachers are getting really comfortable with actually being on camera and being videotaped. Where they're actually videotaping their lessons and then utilizing their web pages even more than they have before, and posting some of those lessons online so kids who are sick can go back and visit it. I mean, think about it. I mean, kids are sick and they're not missing school, they're missing a whole entire lesson. And through this COVID deal, we were able to buy cameras, and this is one of the cameras that I'm actually using right now, but we were able to buy cameras and iPads and monitors and microphone devices for our teachers so they could actually record themselves and then have those lessons available to kids. And so, if you're absent, now you just go to, Mr. Rodriguez's, webpage, and you're pulling up a lesson that was provided today that you would have actually missed out on before. So, I think that'll take, that'll continue. I can tell you what, the mask wearing and all that. I mean, I know how inconvenient that is at times, but the flu and the head cold and those kind of things. I mean, I usually get at least 2 colds a year, and I didn't get it this year. And I'm convinced that it's because I've been, wearing this mask everywhere that I go and sanitizing and all that other stuff. But so I'm not sure what that'll bring. I know some of our teachers are really concerned about the mask wearing and the shield wearing, and they want to do away with it. But I think that the disinfecting and the sanitizing, we've had to kick that up to a whole nother level, and that may even continue. But I'm really excited about the teaching part of it, and just the tools and the devices that teachers had to become, really, really good at, right? I mean, even before COVID, even though we had, the computers and the devices, and they had web pages and all that other stuff, and the Google training and all those things that we provided to our teachers, there were some that just weren't going to do it because they were used to the pencil and paper type of thing, and they were not going to do the whole technology thing. Guess what? When COVID hit, those teachers were in a bad spot because they were forced to use those technology tools, and or else they weren't going to be able to get their teaching done. And so I'm pretty convinced now that 100% of our staff, they understand the Google Suite, and they understand all the apps, the applications through Google that we've been using, and they're way more fluent in that area of technology today. So all that stuff, I think we can actually expand on and grow from. So I guess that's a positive experience from the COVID era, if you will.
About a lot of your families, Andy. How are your families been through this whole process? I know that you've done some outstanding work with your teachers, and it sounds like you're doing some really great things with your students. But how about your families? How are they participating? And if they're not participating, how can they participate?
Sure. I know that the impact on our families has been tough. I mean, especially for those working families that were now all of a sudden, found themselves not only, to provide food on the table, but now they're actually kind of pseudo teachers from their house or their home, right? And being able and trying to figure out how to balance those two things. First, I just want to thank all of the parents out there and the students for their resiliency through all this. It's I know it's been a challenge, but it's been a mixed bag, quite honestly. I think during our survey at the very beginning of this, people were really fearful. I had almost 60% of our families not wanting to send their kids back to school because of the COVID deal. And there was about 30 or 40% that basically said, send the kids back to the classroom. This is fine. We just did another survey just recently, and those numbers have kind of switched. We have like 75% that are ready to come back and feel like it's safe, but still 25% that would prefer having their kids on distance learning. It's interesting to see the socioeconomic impact on those decisions alone. Those that could actually afford are most likely choosing to keep their kids distance learning, but those that can't, they need the kids to go to school so they can continue, their own work and what have you. But the one thing here in Central, we've been providing meals to this community since day one, since March the 13th, not just to our parents of our students. Okay, well, I'm talking to the entire community and making that available to the Central community. And I know that certain other districts are doing the same thing, but our food service department, our nutrition department didn't shut down. They've been out in the field in the trenches, since this thing hit back in March, making food, serving food, and all that, and that still continues today. We're still continuing the meal service to our community, and we're using our schools as a distribution hub for that. And so we've been trying to help out the families as much as we can, whether that's providing meals or, we also have a hotline that we created just in case people are having challenges social emotionally, where we can actually be a contact and be able to provide the resources or at least point them in the right direction. And that's our through our own psychologists, our nurses, etc. But we've been working with our partners too in the health field, where we're able to get all of our staff vaccinated. They've all been vaccinated, at least those that chose to receive the vaccination, which was the majority of our staff. And we've gone through both rounds of vaccinations for our staff. And I think that had a huge impact on our unions agreeing and working with us to come back and provide in-person learning to our kids. And so, that's going to help the families too, is getting back to some sort of normalcy. But we're here. We're here to support them, and we'll do whatever we need on our end in order to support our families get through this and beyond.
That's awesome. We are with Andy Alvarado, the superintendent of Central Unified School District near Fresno or in Fresno, and just personal note, and I'm so proud of you. We go back a long ways, back to our Fresno State. That's our alma mater. We're Delta Sigma Phi fraternity brothers, and intramural football and basketball champions. So I know when we recruited Andy to join the fraternity, he came in pretty quick after I did. We were happy to have him. And we knew that by adding Andy, he was just going to give us some more weaponry with our already deadly athletic program we had at the fraternity. So when Andy came in, that was it. We stole the show up at Fresno State, and he was a nice little secret weapon for us for a while. So it's great to touch base with you, Andy, and we're so proud of the way that you've ascended. All the way up to the superintendent level, man. Couldn't say enough about you. You're doing a heck of a job there, and so many good things. You're going to want to check out this show all in its entirety. We're just about out of time. Adam, if there's anything that you want to add, feel free, or Andy, if you want to leave us with anything that maybe we didn't cover, you want to share, feel free to do so.
Yeah, Andy, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time today and, and your continued success. I know that, Keith has been raving about you for some time, and to finally get to meet you for the second time, so impressed with everything that you're doing and the role that you play as a superintendent, to be the key leader in your community and getting your families, getting your students, and getting your teachers and getting everybody involved. It's very impressive. And again, we just want to say thank you from the Coaches Conversation Cafe for being a part of our day.
Hey, thanks, Adam and Keith. And it was a pleasure. Sometimes I don't get these opportunities to kind of reminisce on especially on the athletic side of things and my coaching days. And but it was that was always a big part of my life. And I still consider myself a coach today. I'm just now coaching principals and administrators. But coaching is coaching. And hey, Keith, you remember those shirts that we created, for DSPN?
ESPN, baby, the
ESPN,
Total Sports Fraternity.
We dominated those intramurals. That was pretty fun.
For years.
So I guess if there's anything that I'll leave our coaches with is, especially some of our young coaches that are just getting into it. And you probably already know this, but the impact that coaches have on students, student athletes, or just students in general is huge. I've been able to see all that come full circle with some of my own athletes. I remember one in particular, Ashley McMath. She was like 6'1" as an 8th grader, and I remember going to her 8th grade game up in Dunlap to watch her play. And after the game, I told her, I introduced myself, and I said I was the girls' basketball coach at Reedley, and I look forward to her coming and playing for me, and I told her that she's going to come straight up to varsity with me. We're not going to mess with freshman or JV stuff. But I had her for 4 years, and she was just an amazing basketball player, great kid. As a matter of fact, she stayed with my family for, a couple stints when her parents were going out of town, and she, very much became part of the family. But just recently, she got onto probation, the probation department. I want to say it's like in Tulare County, I think, but and she sent me a message through Facebook or Instagram, and just talking about the impact that I had on her life as a coach. And you don't realize that until those kind of stories start making their way out. When you get kids coming back and thanking you for providing that guidance, if you will, or that support, or that just challenging in ways that they've never been challenged before. And I want to just thank all of our coaches that are out there for the coaching and doing what they do, because it does have a major impact on our students and our student athletes for sure. I don't even know what I'd be doing right now if I didn't play sports. If I didn't have the coaches, the Coach Spences and the Coach Shadans of the world that are out there, and Coach Bayshore, who actually made me into who I am today. And even my dad, my dad coached baseball for us all through Babe Ruth. And I think he spent like 16 years as a Babe Ruth baseball coach. And all 5 of my brothers, we all have a City League championship under him. And some of the lessons that we learned just from him, as novice as he was, those kind of things stick around and actually molded us, right? And that's what our coaches are doing. They're molding the character and they're molding the being of these student athletes. So keep doing it. There's not a lot of coaches that stick in it as long as they used to. They used to have coaches that were there for 20, 30 plus years, and now you had some coaches running a 5-year coaching career and getting out of it. But all those that are still in it and doing and coaching our kids, we appreciate you, and good luck to all you guys.
Well, great, that's awesome, and thanks for joining us, Andy. It was a great show. It went by fast, and maybe we'd like to have you on again sometime soon. So
absolutely.
Don't go too far.
Hey, we're hiring for Garza High too. We need a lot of coaches out there. So anybody that wants to come and coach for Central Unified, look us up.
There you go. And have a good rest of your day. And thank you, Andy, again for joining us.
Hey, thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right.